Let's go. Running routes. What's going
What's
on,
happening?
everybody? How you doing, Char?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
Doing great, baby. Today on Running Routes, we're doing the prospect series with running routes here. We did quarterbacks. We did offensive line. We're jumping right back to the skilled position players. And on this installment, we'll be doing running backs being drafted in the 2023-24 draft. Coming in at number one, we're doing top five. Coming in at number one for me is Trey Benson out of Florida State. 156 touches, 905 yards with a 5.8 yard per touch. Longest rush was 85 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 54th ranked rushing in the nation. I think personally, he definitely could end up being the best back in this draft, depending on situation and where he goes. And what kind of an offensive line he ends up running behind. It's going to be really interesting in this draft to see how the running backs end up panning out in this draft because I haven't heard not one running back being spoken about in the first round. So it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of talent getting taken off the board late in this draft, unless somebody reaches, unless somebody like a Dallas go ahead and reach and maybe say I'm not going to get a linebacker this year with my first pick, and I'm going to go ahead and go and get me a running back in this draft. But I'm looking at Benson very, very high up on the list. I think he has incredible upside. Charlie, what do you got on your number one overall running back selection?
By far, I mean, in this draft, I feel like it's Trey Benson, and then it goes down a tier. If anybody was going to get drafted in the first round, worthy wise, it's this guy. The combination of speed and strength with him, he's a house call waiting to happen, catching a screen pass or a swing pass out of the backfield. He's got the blend that you look for. Only knock really on him that I have is obviously he had a significant knee injury when he started his career back in Oregon, but since being at FSU, he balled absolutely out. He reminds me of the size and speed blend of Adrian Peterson.
Ooh,
I don't know if he'll ever get to that level, but that's my player comp for him, and I'm so high on him. Him and Jaden Daniels are the guys that I'll be putting my dollars on for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he fits just about every kind of offense out there to me. And if there's a bell cow in this draft for the upcoming season, I believe it's him.
oh, no doubt.
Big time fan of him. Even though it is FSU, I'm a Cane. Naturally, I'm not fond of FSU, but much respect to this kid. Balled out.
No doubt. He's looked very good.
He's my number one on the board. So.
Absolutely. I mean, in my personal opinion, watching him run as well, he looked very good to me. I mean, and depending on situation and where he goes, the kind of time that he's going to end up getting.
Yeah,
To
he ran in the 4.3s at the combine too. So I mean, to be his size and to possess that kind of speed, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare air, and it isn't a you can say what you want about the running back class maybe, but if anybody deserves to go in the first round, I believe it's this kid.
Absolutely. All right. Moving forward here, we're gonna just keep it. We're gonna on keep it rolling on our picks here for the running back position. Coming in at number two for me, uh, my number two guy is Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. 137 attempts, 1,013 yards, 7.4 yards per touch. 82 yards was his longest. He had four touchdowns, and he was ranked 43rd in the nation. He looks really good to me, and I think that he's very shifty, and I think that he's gonna be able to get some yards from behind the line of scrimmage. I think that he's fast enough and has enough shiftiness to get away from people trying to tackle him in the backfield. I think this kid's he's definitely going to be capable of getting it done this season, but I don't think he's going to be better than Benson. That's why I just put him slightly over Benson. Who's your second?
Yeah, Jalen Wright's my number 3, but since we're on Jalen Wright, kid's an absolute home run hitter. I liken him to like a Chris Johnson type of situation, to where
Speed.
he can definitely take it to the house. He's a guy that when I watch the tape on him, always looking 5 to 10 yards downfield, and he's a north-south guy. He's not going to give you a bunch of wiggle. He's getting upfield as fast as he can, and if with his 4.3 speed, he showed out at the combine as well, and he wasn't even happy with the time he ran. With his speed, definitely going to be a major threat in zone type of schemes and stuff like that. Obviously, everybody depending on where they land, like you highlighted with, starting off the show, but he's definitely got a lot of talent. I got him number 3. Definitely is going to be a good pick for somebody.
No doubt, and not that I'm saying this, but this is the going rate. He's 5'10", 210 pounds, and historically, though, that's Hall of Fame. That's Hall of Fame numbers right there. 5'10", 210 pounds. That's what you're looking for. Perfect center of gravity. This guy runs a 4.3. Not the biggest concern with durability. So sky's the limit for him. I think he really has a tall ceiling.
I'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see. He was in Tennessee, and like we've highlighted, doing some of the receiver comps last year, and then coming into this season and taking a look at Jalen. The Vols run a different kind of offense, and 7.4 per tote is gaudy. But if you watch a Volunteers game, you can kind of see why to a degree. They've got a lot of pre-snap action going on, and they run some interesting stack type of formations, 4 wide mostly. So usually he's only having to beat maybe a 5 to a 6-man box, and obviously you got 5 offensive linemen. So it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to a traditional style of offense where speed at linebacker is prevalent across the NFL. So, but kid's got talent.
Absolutely. So who did you have penciled in at number 2?
My number 2, I penciled him in at number 2. That was Blake Corum. I think you're pretty high on him as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
I like Blake. I didn't last year, and that's where he started to pop off, was last year. But this year, coming back off the injury, I watched a lot more of him, and I'm impressed with the way he runs in between the tackles. The kid is a tough-nosed football player, and I just think projecting him coming into the season, I think whoever gets him is going to get 8 to 10 possible touchdowns this season out of him. I don't think he's going to be this bell cow, one back type of back, but I do think in a 2-back situation that he can be very, very effective. He's a guy that's got a nose for the goal line, a la early Austin Eckler type. Smaller back, gets lost in the mix and the wash there, and he sticks his nose wherever it needs to go. And the determinations on his run, and he's got deceptive speed. He can make a house call. He's not the blazer in the draft by no means,
right?
But he is a guy that I think you can depend on, and I wouldn't be surprised if old Coach Harbaugh doesn't try to get his hands back on him too, especially with Austin Eckler leaving the building.
No doubt.
Where's he at on your ranking?
Unfortunately for me, he's 5, but I put both guys with my belief of durability issue. Knocked them down on the bottom. Not that I don't believe that they're the best talent or could be the best talent in this draft, but there's something to be said about guys who stay healthy. And I'm just giving a nod to the kids out there that stay healthy and also produce. And there's a lot of guys in this list that produce, and even in my honorable mentions list, there's a lot of running backs that I think that have put up some really, really gaudy touches, like Frank Gore, 231 touches. Bucky Irvin, 186. Breland Allen, 181. I mean, there's some guys that are not on my top 5 that have more production than my guys on the top 5. But some of these other guys with the numbers not so big, say like Trey Benson has 2 or 3 receivers in this draft that potentially are going to end up being drafted. Jalen Wright has some, Jonathan Brooks has some, Audric Estime has some, Blake Corum has some. I mean, these were some high-powered offenses last year in the nation. So, it's numbers aren't everything. They're just some things.
Who's your number 3 guy?
My number 3 guy is the kid out of Notre Dame, Audric Estime. He really 210 touches, 1,341 yards, 6.4 yards, averaging per touch 80 yards long, 18 touchdowns, and 12th in the nation. That's really good across the board. That's really high up there. Top 15 in the nation across the board. You got some pretty good offensive linemen. You could argue that were blocking for him. Fisher, who kind of had a little bit, stressed out a little bit, had some problems, but got it together. And then obviously the top-notch, top echelon Joe Alt there on the lefter side of things. So he did have some decent help on that squad. Wouldn't say he had a bum quarterback either, and Hartman. So, he had help, and a lot of these guys in the top 5 had help.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Who was your third?
There's no doubt about it. Well, I had Blake Corum. Jalen Wright was my third that we already talked about. Estime, he came kind of out of nowhere. For me, I was impressed with him. The physicality he ran with between the tackles for Notre Dame. Combine wasn't impressed. That 4.7 he ran, obviously that's disappointing, and maybe he'll work that out a little bit better at the pro day. He just strikes me as a guy similar to Derrick Henry without the Derrick Henry speed. You're going to have to get him going, and he's going to have to not get touched. And if he can not get touched and get to the line of scrimmage, then yeah, he's a guy that can make some noise. I really think that after number 3, this is when the draft really starts for running backs, as far as like you're going to start picking guys for certain situations. And he's a guy that fits a couple of roles, short yardage back, situational down near the end zone possibly as well. But I wasn't as high on Estime. He's not on my top 5 list. My next guy on the list was, as far as the number 4 spot goes, was Jonathan Brooks, and I put him there because of the possibilities that he has. But I mean, the word I used to describe him was solid. He's a smooth runner. To me, like an Alexander Madison type of back, though, a guy that is fully capable of doing everything, but he wowed me at really nothing in particular. He was just a guy that could do absolutely everything. If you need a running back to just, be your number 2, if you need a running back that you just need a safe play at, a guy that's going to do his job, a guy that can catch the ball in the backfield, that type of person, then I feel like Jonathan Brooks is the guy for you.
Yeah, I think he was a really good pass blocker as well. I have him too at 4. Oddly enough, I have him at 4, and my only concern is the knee injury. It's a little concerning for me at that position. Not that it wouldn't be a concern for me at the wide receiver position or say the linebacker position. I mean, it's a lower leg injury. The knee, I think is something that can hinder a lot and give people a lot of problems. Kenny Phillips, safety out of Miami Hurricane, drafted in the first round to the New York Giants, kind of like had a couple spurts here and there, but he had some arthritis problem in the knee, and he just could never shake this knee injury. and he just never ended up performing at the level that he did in college. And I'm not saying that this is exactly the same case because it's not the same type of injury, but it is a concerning injury for me. And again, like I said, if you're healthy the whole season, even though this was towards the end of the season, he ended up getting hurt. It's still concerning in my eyes because it's a knee injury. 187 touches, 1,139 yards, 6.1 per touch. 67 was the longest. 10 touchdowns, ranked 29th in the nation in 2023. And I think the kid, he definitely rings all the bells. Will the knee stay healthy? Will he stay healthy? Is my only concern, and then 5 is Corum, only because of him coming back from the injury. He did get a lot of touches, 258 touches, the most on my list of any running back. He got 1,245 yards, 4.8, 5.9 was the longest run, 27 touchdowns, 18th in the nation, 5'8". The kid was,
The fact that he
solid.
came back so strong off of that injury was a little bit to why it swayed me back to him, because they did put a lot on his shoulders. Got the kid Edwards there as a 1-2 punch. Corum was the grimy guy.
Yeah.
And
the bell
cow. I respected what he's able to do. And again, you highlighted with the touchdown production. That's numbers in major conference play and into the bowl season as well.
That's why he had to be on the list.
You're still doing that type of stuff. I gotta respect you, even though the stature and even though the like you noted the injury history, but it came off of that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That's why he slid into my 5. I got some incredible honorable mentions. We can get into questions. I don't know how you want to do it, but we could do it.
Well, my number 5, just to run it down real quick, is the kid out of Kentucky, which I think you like him too.
That's
Ray Davis.
I do.
He reminds me of like a Jaylen Warren type, another small kid, but I feel like this guy can come in, be a third down change of pace, good pass protector, and can give you a little bit to spell your running back, a little bit of something different. And I let his tape at Kentucky, very productive. Again, a guy that's not going to necessarily wow you at any particular thing, but 5'8", 201 with good hands. He's a little bowling ball out there. Different make than Corum. He's not going to be your through the tackle guy, but you get him into space, he can make the plays necessary, and he's a tough runner. So I like Ray Davis as I slotted him at 5.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we can get into some questions. We got some fan questions.
Yeah, let's jump into it, baby. Because I think the one question, I think my honorable mentions, I'll be able to pluck a guy from there to answer one of the questions.
Okay, we got the one question from Henri, big fan of the show. Much love to Ree.
Hey.
He wants to know who our sleeper backs are in this draft. And I got kind of a couple of them. I'm sure you got a couple of them.
Absolutely.
Want to get it started?
Yeah. So thank you for the question, Ree. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and with mine, I don't know if this I'm going to give a few, but I don't know if Frank Gore Jr. will be looked at as a sleeper, but I'm going to throw Frank Gore, Breland Allen, and Jawar Jordan out of Louisville. Now, I know everybody's loving the kid that ran the fastest 40 amongst running backs, but I assure you, go back and watch the dual threat that Louisville had, and both of those kids were 1,000-yard backs on that squad. But Jawar Jordan, I don't know, he just has a little bit more tenacity to me. He still looks as fast, even though he didn't run as fast as he did. Isaac, I don't want to butcher the last name. Gurendo, I don't know.
Gurendo.
Who ran the 4.333. But Jawar Jordan, he ran a 4.5. But I'm telling you, the kid looks fast too, and really runs hard. And I got him in that list as well. Also with Cody Schrader from Mizzou.
The kid out of Missouri.
Yeah,
Yeah,
third
yeah.
third in rushing in the nation last
Much
year.
much respect.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
I think
I just
the only knock I got on the kid out of Louisville was his vision. He
Jawar Jordan.
seemed, yeah, he seemed. I liked how he got through the line. He had good vision there. His second level vision and ability to keep it going north south was a little bit to where I didn't put him necessarily on the sleeper list for me.
Right.
And I think it's fair to put Frank Gore Jr. on there. That was the first name that came to my mind because coming into the draft, not really that talked about. Obviously, the name sticks out to everybody, but here's
Yeah.
a kid that started his freshman career in Miami, couldn't get on the field, transferred to Southern Miss, kind of went off the map. But the kid played quarterback and running back for them and just dominated. And when you cut on the film and you watch him, you see that same smooth left to right, 1 foot cuts, and just making his way snakily through to the secondary style that his father possessed as well. So he put on weight. I think when he was at Miami, he was probably why he couldn't get on the field. But he's over 200 pounds now. Battle tested, like definitely worth a later round, day 2 draft pick for some team because of the lineage we've highlighted already in this series. A couple of guys that
Absolutely.
have pro, fathers in the lineage. This kid, chip off the old block. I wouldn't be surprised he has a nice little 8-year career. Now, do I think he can be a do it all, take over your team type of back?
No.
No. But I think if your starter goes down and you need 8 games out of this kid, I think he can do very well, a la Chuba Hubbard type
Yeah.
situation to where you've got a 1-2 there. So he's my number one sleeper. Tough and smooth between the tackles is what I wrote down. A couple other guys that I liked: Dylan Johnson out of Washington, battled a lot of injuries, but I think he's versatile enough to play a number 2, number 3 running back position. Good hands out of the backfield. He's a diverse running back. Not exactly going to wow you with the speed, but definitely a guy that can come in and handle all the duties of a running back. And then Armani Bailey out of TCU. This was his first year as a starter, but watching his tape, again, another trend for me is a guy that gets north and south as a running back. I don't like a lot of the dancing. I don't like to have to get you to the edge. He's another smaller guy, but his vision, I liked his vision better than the kid out of Louisville that you liked. The Armani Bailey kid's vision was very nice. Now he doesn't possess wow you speed either, but just his ability to navigate through the different levels of the defense, I think he deserves a little bit of a sleeper look as well.
I also had on that list, but didn't think he was a sleeper. But definitely an honorable mention because I definitely think he's an incredible situational guy. I had Bucky Irving on there that I really liked, and this kid out of New Hampshire, Dylan Labu,
The Frenchman.
Luba. I'm a butcher
Mm-hmm.
with the names.
Is it like Laube,
Laube,
right? Yeah.
Laube.
Lobble Lobble.
Yeah, Lobble. Sorry, bro, I'm butchering it. But you're a savage catching the ball, running the ball. He does not go down on first contact. It would have been nice if we could have seen him go up against some top talent in the nation. He played on New Hampshire, but he ran pretty hard, bro. Also, Dylan Johnson too, out of Washington, was another one that it wasn't pretty, but he looked really good to me as well. There was a lot
Yeah,
of
he
backs I
got
liked. I watched a lot of tape on a lot of guys that looked really good to me. I just don't know if that's going to translate. A lot of it, and we'll
yeah,
see.
a lot of when you start getting down here, every single year. There's going to be some undrafted talent that's going to make a splash in the NFL, at least for a gamer. There's going to be sixth and seventh round backs that no one was putting any kind of stock in, that somebody had an extra pick. They brought them, put them on the roster. There's going to be guys just because of the nature of the position that have relevancy not only in the NFL but in fantasy football and things like that. So these are names that might be not be uber important to you and your particular team, of like at this point in time. But once you start getting into week 10, week 11, lots of these names, you're going to see them bubble up on some rosters. So do take note of what we're talking about and stuff like that for fantasy football purposes, all kinds of stuff. We always try to drop you guys nuggets when we can, in the fantasy realm, in the place and wagers realm and stuff like that. We try to be diverse and give you guys our thoughts on that type of stuff too. But guys pop up, no one had heard, no one put any stock into Pachenko. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 2 years later, he's the starting running back for the Super Bowl winning champions. These guys are here. It's just sometimes it's tough to see them because of the route they took in college. Have that knee injury and got passed up a couple of rounds and stuff like that, but they proved that they can bounce back. So it'll be interesting. I think this whole running back class could be classified as a sleeper class because you don't have just that, not that guy or that couple of guys in the first couple of rounds. I think like we talked about, I think we both are pretty sold on Trey Benson's ability.
Yeah,
but after that, I mean, you're looking at second and third round guys before running backs start to get taken again. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, you got some grinders too. I mean, you still got some more workhorse backs that were out there that basically, I mean, Isaiah Davis, South Dakota, Carson Steele, UCLA. I mean, there's guys out there,
The kid out of USC had a nice combine as well. I forget his name, but he opened up some eyes. Got some talk about him as well.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Will Shipley, Marshawn Lloyd. I mean, there's still
Shipley,
other guys.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still other guys with ability.
Marshawn Lloyd, that
we're definitely not overlooking them. They're on our radar. We are seeing them. We are watching them. But I mean, when we're doing top 5, we can't. We're just not doing the entirety of the draft. We haven't gotten involved in doing any mock drafts at all. Some guys make some of you guys make a nice comment or whatever. If you guys want us to maybe think about doing some mock drafts, maybe like a first and second round or something like that. Maybe, hit us up in the comments. Tell us what you think. It'd be interesting to see how this draft pans out. But I can tell you this. If no running backs go in the first round and maybe say 1 or 2 go in the second, then this draft, your NFL team is going to get quality talent at a cheap, low price. Because, I mean, there is a lot of talent in this draft. It's all about how you use it and use it to your advantage. But
I agree.
This is yeah.
We have one more question from a viewer.
Yeah. Yeah, we got
that. That's Kevin, right?
Yeah, we got one more.
But yeah, Eddie's not wrong. We all these guys are on our radar. Shipley, guy we didn't mention, like you said, and the Marshawn Lloyd kid was the USC back that I was thinking of that had a really good combine. And yeah, we do our best due diligence. And if you do got questions, like you said, definitely hit us up. What's that question that we got here? Or do you want me to read it off?
So we got effects of running back pay affecting top athletes choosing the running back position in college, leaving, playing their whole career at running back in college to be drafted at running back in the pros. Is there an effect? And, I would say after you take a look at the numbers and check out salaries, I mean, in terms of money-wise, top-notch players that are wide receivers who are regarded as the number one are making more per season than almost some guys, some top athletes at running back are making at the position for the entirety of their contract, which is crazy to think that there's people making that much money. You know, Tariq Hill's making 30 million a game, or a year. 30 million a season, and Barkley's contract was 37 for 3. So, I mean, in terms of years, I mean, Tariq Hill's making every year basically what Barkley's going to make the whole time he's at the Eagles, if he even makes it 3 seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'll probably get slack for this, but, you know, I wish Barkley nothing but the best. And I mean, I hope he can stay healthy, you know, because he really is an incredible running back to watch, and a quality person and athlete such as himself. You really want to see that stay in the game. I'm a Giant fan. I love the Giants. I don't want to see him go to Philly, and I don't want to watch him wear the jersey and run against us 2 times a year. But I love the running back position. So to sit here and say that I wouldn't want to watch Barkley run, I'd be lying. I want to watch every running back run. I want to watch them all run. I want to keep them all when I play Madden. I want to draft them all when I play fantasy. I want them all. You know what I mean? I love the position, man. To me, you got to be built different to play that position. You know,
Absolutely.
my personal opinion. I mean, this is just my opinion, my view of the position. Not everyone is built to play running back. Yeah, you can line up back there. You can get it ending around back there. You can play around behind the line of scrimmage, but down in and down out, that's built for other people.
Yeah, my thoughts on the question. I think there is some effect on it because
Absolutely.
if I'm a kid coming in, to Georgia, I'm a kid coming into Alabama, and I am a top athlete, and I have the ability, if I want to, if I want to play defensive back and be the best defensive back, I could do it.
Yeah.
If I want to play wide receiver, I could probably be the best wide receiver in college football. And if I could play running back, I could probably be the best running back too. Given the circumstance and the climate in the NFL and the way the rookie structure pay is for rookies, that are getting drafted, they're getting locked up for 3 and 4 years, sometimes even 5. For a running back, that could be their career, and you see the type of pay that they're getting. Like you highlighted the disparity. I mean, Mike Evans going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. But you compare his salary to what Derrick Henry, probably another Hall of Famer, is getting paid, and it's double that, and it is a passing league. We talk about it all the
Yeah.
time. You bring
Yeah.
it up heavily that it is a passing league, but that's only one wide receiver. You know what I mean? Compared to one running back. And that running back that you're paying, the stud guys, your Josh Jacobs, all those guys, they're going to touch the ball at least 20 times a game. Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill on their best days, if they don't get double teamed and taken out of the game completely. Now, a running back can't do that, but a wide receiver can be double teamed and schemed against. They're going to touch it 10. Maybe you get 10 catches out of him. That's not going to be on a game-to-game basis, but your elite wide receivers, 10 catches a game. It's a big disparity, and it would be discouraging to me as a young athlete to know I'm going to be your first round pick. You're gonna run me into the ground for 3 or 4 years, and then when I brought you Rookie of the Year, when I brought you notoriety, when I brought you to the playoffs, maybe on my back, a la Saquon Barkley 2 years ago with the Giants. When I do all this stuff, and it's time for me to capitalize and get paid well, you're going to let me walk, and then the rest of the NFL is basically just going to give me, whatever I can get. Then I'm going to have no leverage because you used up a lot of my best years under a pay scale. So I think there's going to have to be some adjustments to the rookie pay scale if you're going to want to keep that running back position viable going in, coming from college, coming from high school to college and into the pros. Personally, I think things are going to have to change, but that's life. Things adapt and they change. I also think at some point in time, there's going to come along a running back that's going to be able to throw as well. And we've talked about quarterbacks that are running quarterbacks and stuff like that. I think there's going to be a hybrid type of situation to where you're going to find a guy that's lining up in a I formation and he's killing you for 15 carries already for 75 yards, and all of a sudden that quarterback's going to split out wide and he's good enough to be a slot receiver. That H-back that was blocking for him is going to split to the tight end formation, and all of a sudden that snap's going to come to that running back, and the running back's going to be able to throw a post route. He's going to be able to sit back there and throw a couple darts. And I think that's going to kind of eventually be an evolution of that position if they want to get more value as well.
Just wanted to point out real quick, solid question from Kevin. We love you. Thank you for the question, Kevin. Keep them coming. He's a beast in our fantasy football league. Watch out for Kev.
Yeah.
Shout out to the whole fantasy football league, everybody. Maddie, Remy Martin, all you guys, man. We love you guys. We love having the fantasy football league with everybody, and it's a hell of an experience every season. I just wanted to point out, though, 21 catches was the most catches ever in a game, Brandon Marshall. 28 targets, Brandon Marshall against the Colts were the most targets to a wide receiver in a game. I'd love to point out that some running backs used to get 30 to 40 touches in a game, and those years and those days are over. So the production kind of has swung in that direction. Plus, in the NFL now, they've been using two guys as opposed to one guy. They've been using, for instance, the Dallas Cowboys 2 seasons ago, with, your top-notch running back Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I can think back to Giants teams with Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, and Derek Ward. Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then you've had the Derrick Henry, the Adrian Peterson, where you're solely the guy and that's it. And the whole team's counting on you, to be that guy to touch the ball 30, 35 times a game. But those days are changing. And now it's just so much easier to get two guys who are situational to come in and get the job done of a job that once was performed by one, and now it's performed by the few. I would say that there's nothing wrong with that, but to just further reiterate about the question, I do think that it will eventually end up turning top talent to play a different sport or possibly potentially even a different position. So to answer Kevin's question, yes, I do think moving forward this will affect the position. The real question I think lies in the question is, will we be able to see it, or will this just evolve into a 2 to 3 set type of back where there's a backfield where you have multiple guys moving down the line that you can count on? That's what it looks like we're moving towards, because a lot of these teams, say the Baltimore Ravens for so many seasons had multiple backs at the position. Before Christian McCaffrey on the San Francisco 49ers, it was multiple backs at the position. So, I think slowly but surely we're shutting the door upon there being a sole running back there that's just eating.
Yeah, and you bring up some interesting points with, your Ezekiel Elliott contracts and stuff like that. There's obviously been cautionary tales about giving a running back massive amounts of money. Le'Veon Bell's another instance for that. But I think in the same light, you can look at, certain defensive tackles that have got massive contracts. You can look at certain cornerbacks that have gotten massive contracts and haven't lived up to it either. I don't think the NFL can get around the importance of a running back, because if you look at all these Super Bowl teams, they had a good running back. It might not have been the best running back in the game, but the running game, especially come playoff time, and it's uber important. You've got to have balance. You've got to be able to run the ball, and you've got to be able to be physical when times call for you to be physical.
It's an absolutely incredible point, because the moment that came out of your mouth, I immediately just began to envision all of these teams hitting me at like super friggin' fast speeds. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that came in with playoff Lenny, 6'2", dog out of LSU come in and just dominate the playoffs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, excellent point, Charlie. I mean, you got, you've had the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Mixon. I mean, you've had the Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers just recently for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it's one of the. I mean, you had Miles Sanders for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won it with Carson Wentz. I mean,
hey, look at the impact Williams had on the Rams off last year.
Kerryon Williams on it out of Notre Dame.
He popped up. That offense completely took over. Like, Cooper, awesome. Stafford, awesome. Other guy, obviously, name escaping me. But the factor of Kyren Williams in that offense completely changed the trajectory of the Rams season last season. As soon as he came into the fold, Cam Akers gets shipped. He takes over. Completely different offense for the rest of the season. Let him in playoffs. You can see Detroit, even after coming off of a season where they had Swift and Williams scored 9,000 touchdowns, went and grabbed Jahmyr Gibbs, brought in Montgomery, completely switched it up to keep that running game fresh and going, and invested top draft capital in another running back. So, I mean, it is a very important position. They do need to be taken care of just the same way as these other positions. I think something will ultimately give, though. Something has to. Because
I would like to point out that
it will start to change people's minds.
I'd like to point out that, I mean, in the NFL, I mean, this is like a game of chess. I mean, your offensive linemen are pawns, and if anybody plays the game of chess, then they know how valuable and how important the pawns are. They're very important. Are they the most important? No, they're not the most important because you're trying to protect the king.
But they set up the rest of your scheme.
But they set everything up. Love, and the dove. You need this. It's nice. It's great. Don't just be frivolous with your pawns. Don't be frivolous with your running backs. You need them. There's something that I never hear anybody talk about anymore, and that's being well-rounded. And the teams who are well-rounded are the teams that are always in the playoffs. Or you're just really good in your division. I mean, let's face it. If there's only 4 teams in the division and you're the best team in the division and your division's not really that good, and, I guess all these other things don't really kind of like matter because you're getting in there at 9-7 or 8-8 or whatever, 8-9. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like being well-rounded is something you want to strive to try and be. You want to be good at running the ball. You want to be good at passing the ball. And I would say vice versa on the defensive side of the ball. You want to be good at stopping the run, and you want to be good at getting after the passer. You don't really want to care about your defensive backs covering the wide receivers because you don't want your quarterback to have time. That's where this NASCAR package came from. That's why these defensive ends and defensive tackles are being drafted so high every year, because nobody wants to have these quarterbacks have any time back there to make these A1 day one decisions to be scoring all these points in this passing league.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. Running routes, everybody.
Thank you for joining.
Running routes.
Next show up will be wide receivers. Check us out.
Absolutely.